All right, this is Grant Easterday here with FightHype.com. Jordan, welcome to the interview. Thanks for taking the time to join me today.
Appreciate you giving me the time to get on and talk some MMA with you.
Of course, brother, anytime. First, I want to say congrats on your first win. You made rooting for you as a fellow Lehigh Valley guy extremely easy over the years, so we love seeing your success.
I appreciate that.
For those of you who for those of you who don't know who Jordan is a two-time NCAA champion from Oklahoma State and now a 145-pound fighter in the PFL promotion, fighting out of Kill Cliff FC.
That's right.
Kill Cliff FC is down in Deerfield Beach, Florida. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. We're 1 week away from the fight. The fight is going to be Friday, August 16th at the Hard Rock Live in Hollywood, Florida. How's camp going for you, Jordan? Have you started the weight cutting process yet?
All of it started, man, even just before this fight, I had fights scheduled 2 times, right, for 2 cards leading up into this card. So I've been in probably you can say an 18-week camp, right? So I feel good. Weight's never a problem. All the training, all the crafts you got to learn. I'm constantly in the gym, so we're lean and mean and ready to go. We got 7 more days until fight day and 6 more days of training.
Good stuff, my man. I see your opponent is Braden Aayo. He's 5-3. What do you know about Braden Aayo, and have you seen any of his fights at all?
Uh, I've watched briefly a couple of his fights that were posted, but just like wrestling, I don't want to sit there and dwell on what they do best. I want to become like aware of like habits they have and just kind of the style they bring, um, and then really just work on making myself better, whether it's the striking, the jujitsu, and just mixing it all together. So for me, uh, it's a good challenge, right? He has a lot of experience. He has 8 fights.
Absolutely.
So this is a big stepping stone for me to get in there with somebody a little bit more experienced. And also, I know he has a wrestling background, so um, that'll be interesting, right? Wrestler versus wrestler, a little bit more experience with the striking, maybe. Uh, so I'm excited to go in and just showcase. I've been at it for a year now, so mixing it up, putting my striking with my wrestling. I'm just very excited to showcase all the work I've been putting in, and now it's finally time. And like I said, there's 2 fights that fell through, and now I get to perform. Right, the camps are the hardest part. Right, you talk to anybody in the MMA world, and coaches are like, "Dude, I'm more nervous about you just getting through the camp than the
Right.
fight. When you get to the fight, it's like
I can
everything's
imagine.
golden." Yeah, so. Um, the atmosphere I'm in, we have a bunch of killers here, so I get to see a bunch of everything. So um, nothing surprises me, and I'm prepared for whatever he has to throw my way.
Good stuff, my man. Jordan, you're 34. If I'm correct, am I correct?
Yep.
Some could say that's a later than normal start to MMA. I'm just wondering, what are some of your goals within your new sport, jumping over from wrestling?
Um, the goal's the same, right? Be a world champion, whether it's under the PFL banner, Bellator banner, UFC banner. I want to be a world champion.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so whoever the top contender is, I'm going for. I want to be world champ. I want to have that belt around my waist. So, I mean, coming from the wrestling world, uh, I have a little bit of an advantage just of the competition of high level that I've been competing at my whole life. Um, but like I told the guys at the gym and coaches, like when I step into this, I want you to treat me just like I'm some guy off the street, right? How would you teach me the basics? And then, as time progresses, we'll see where I'm going with my striking and then, add my little sauce onto it. And I've always been a stylish wrestler, so I'm in the mix and process of right now and making myself a stylish fighter.
Right. So obviously everyone is very familiar with that wrestling pedigree that you bring to the table. What is something that the average MMA fan can maybe expect to see on your fight next Friday night?
Well, you say wrestling, you're going to see takedowns and a
Hell yeah.
lot of grappling. But like I said, I've been at it for a year and I want to showcase my skills. Uh, I want to transfer over into the sport and not just be successful, but I want to be the people's champ. I want to be a fighter that everybody is excited to go out and watch and see perform because they know they're going to get every cent they spent to get to that fight. They're going to get the performance they deserve. So for me, it's progressing, and obviously you'll see takedowns, and maybe you'll see a high level of striking.
It's
Right, that's my plan of putting together my striking, also with my wrestling, and my jujitsu is coming along very, very well. Uh, and it's very close to wrestling when you're rolling and doing jujitsu. So that's something I fell in love with early.
yeah,
Right,
man.
but
Looking
as I've
forward
been
to you.
progressing and striking and kicks, right? Everybody says it, but it is real. You fall in love with the striking, and all of a sudden, for maybe 2 months, there was when I was going in the room, there was no wrestling. Right, I do my off wrestling workouts, but when I was in spars and my coaches had to yell at me like, Jordan, you're a wrestler, shoot, take him down, and I'm sitting there striking, and you know that's you, that's the way you learn. You got to get into the fire to learn. So,
Absolutely.
like you said, I'm 34. Some people might consider it, a little bit on the later side. I feel like I'm in my prime. I've watched guys like Cejudo and Cormier and compete for world titles past 36 years old. So to me, age ain't nothing but a number. I feel great, and I'm only getting better.
And speaking of Cormier, that brings me to my next question. You're following in some big footsteps of former Oklahoma State guys who transitioned from wrestling to MMA. Have you talked to any of those guys, and what advice have they given you thus far?
I talk to all of them, man, not just Daniel, but Daniel's like a big brother to me. So when I first got to Okie State, he was there, and we were training. Me and Daniel actually together, undefeated. Anytime he's ever cornered me, so he's somebody that's always, looked out for me as a big brother, and gave me good advice and insight, not just in the wrestling world, now coming into the MMA world. So obviously, it's a little bit different on the training and recovering and really putting together the schedule that fits you as an athlete. Um, and I have guys like Cejudo that I speak with, and Dillashaw and those guys that really I try to pick their minds and pick their brains. But you mentioned in Oklahoma State guys, you got guys like Kyle Crutchburn and Kobe Smith and Nick Piccinini and all those guys that I speak with all the time. Uh, so I kind of knew what to expect. This is a transition I was waiting to happen. I almost made it in 2016, but now it came a little bit later. So, it's something that I submerged myself into 2016 and start picking apart and dissecting myself because I knew this is the path I wanted to take after I was done competing wrestling. So I've been at it and just, little by little, transitioning, learning the weight cuts, learning how to rehydrate. But really, for me, it's learning all the technical aspects. And, it's very close to wrestling with spacing and things like that. But, getting to hear it and pick the mind of Cormier and Cejudo and those guys is a huge advantage for me. So those guys I probably bother more than I bother my own parents.
That's awesome.
Or
Good
talk to
stuff,
my
man.
own family. I'm like, hey, how can I do this better? Sending them this video. What can I do here? Right. So when you do something, you want to be the best. I don't want to get into this game and be mediocre. I want to leave my mark on this MMA game and leave as one of the greatest of all time.
Love to hear that. Love to hear that. As we mentioned before, you're training down at Kill Cliff FC. What have you taken from being in a room full of killers down there? And is there anyone in particular that you've latched onto for guidance within the Kill Cliff FC room?
I mean, I latched on to everybody for guidance. I mean, there's high level strikers. There's guys that aren't in the UFC that'll be in the UFC, and then we have the high level guys like Michael Johnson, Jared Gordon, and you're watching guys like Gilbert Burns that they're chiming in, and for a short time, Ian Machado Gary.
Yeah,
Uh,
great
these
names.
guys are just right next to you working out, so you're watching them work out, and you're watching the things that they're doing, uh, and you're kind of picking from their style and seeing what works, and then you get to sit down and break it down with these guys and actually ask them, man, what do you see when you throw that kick, or you're throwing that jab, or what are you trying to set up? And then they take you down the path of their mindset. So um, every day is a fight for my life in that room. I mean, from going with our coaches like Nick Lentz and Dieter Navarro, Jason Strout, Greg Jones, Henry Hoof, Sean Soriano, all of these guys, uh, you can't say I latched on to one in particular, right? Because all of them play a huge role in my success and me building into the MMA fighter I want to be. So we're a family here. So there's not just one guy that's helping. I mean, we're a family. Everybody around is helping and trying to improve, and everybody wants to be the best.
Absolutely. Switching gears here a little bit. Another hot topic right now in the fight world is upcoming fight between your teammate Michael Chandler and Conor McGregor. Is there anything you've seen in training from Michael Chandler recently that a guy like Conor McGregor should be concerned about after a long layoff?
Uh, Mike is a beast. Mike is a beast. He's always training and he's always critiquing. And one of the best attributes he has is it's not just for him, right? He goes in, he does it. He's an example for the guys in the room, but he's always around chiming in, trying to help everybody around him. Because if we get better, we challenge him to get better, and we keep evolving as a gym. But Mike is I mean, he's a wrestler. That's all that needs to be said, right? Uh,
Absolutely, yeah.
but before that, Mike is a showman. So you're gonna see the fireworks. Mike's gonna always exchange and be a brawler, but Mike has the gas tank and has freaking the heart of a lion, and that's very deadly for anybody to compete against. Right, a guy
Right.
that will never give up, and to his advantage, his wrestling pedigree is way above anybody that I think Conor has ever fought, including the Khabibs. And I've watched Chandler wrestle for Missouri throughout the Big 12, so I got to watch him in college. Uh, he was a great wrestler. So I think he goes out and obviously he has power and drops bombs, but don't overlook his wrestling. I think that's always, as any wrestler, uh, that's the path to success.
Yeah, I would like to see him exercise it in this fight for sure.
Yeah, Mike likes to drop bombs, so
Yeah, he likes to drop bombs.
either way, he's the people's champ.
No, he's the man. I like Mike Chandler a lot. Big fan.
Great dude.
So you're fighting under the PFL banner. Another guy who's real popular in the headlines in the fight world recently is Jake Paul. Jake Paul is part owner of the PFL. I was just wondering if you've had the chance to watch any of Jake's fights or have any interactions with Jake Paul at all.
I've never had any interactions with Jake Paul, but I do watch his fights. Obviously, he's beaten up a lot of the MMA guys, uh, but it's just a testament to, his hhard work. I think Jake Paul, a lot of people were overlooking him, but this guy is training and he's investing in himself. It's not like this guy is just like, oh, a
100%.
YouTuber, he can't fight. At one point, nobody could fight.
Right.
Right? It takes time and focus and discipline to keep going to the gym and working. And this guy, he's been living in the gym. He's been boxing, and he's very passionate and uh, good at what he does. And these
Yeah.
guys keep stepping in the ring with him. And I think, some of them have a tendency to be like, hey, he's okay. He never competed at the highest level, right? But then, even as an MMA fighter, like when you go into boxing and you're just doing straight boxing, it's very technical. It's very hard, right? Some guys can't just straight up box because they have to mix in kicks, they have to mix in takedowns, and MMA is a full list of different little games you can play, right? Where boxing is very technical, and that takes time. That takes time. Like even for me, when I first started going to box, it's hard because you want to have the technique perfect and the movements, and it takes time. It's creating good habits. And this dude, Jake Paul, has been doing this for years, and these guys think they can just walk on over and fight this guy, and I think it's a big mistake. Yeah, as you've seen, he's been knocking out every single one of them or close to it, right? Uh,
Absolutely.
the dude has serious power in his hands, and he's a serious athlete. He's a top competitor, if people want to say it or not.
No joke, no joke at all. Um, Jordan, last question is give us your prediction. What's gonna happen next week? Give me your prediction for next Friday.
Uh, I always want to be respectful uh, to my opponent, no matter what it is. But I'm coming with a high pace, and just like wrestling, a finish is the same thing as 6 points for me, right? So I'm always going to be looking for the finish, whether it's KO, whether it's submission, or just to the ref has to pull me off this guy.
Yep.
But I'm ready for a war, right? You wish for the best, but you prepare for the worst, right? So if the fight happens to go 15 minutes, I'm ready for 30 minutes of just straight violence.
Let's go,
So
man. Looking
I'm
forward to
very,
it.
very excited. I'm tired of these guys beating me up in the gym here at Kill Cliff. Finally, it's my turn to go out and showcase my skills and beat somebody up.
Let's go, man. Jordan, thank you for your time, man. Jordan's fight is next Friday, August 16th at the Hard Rock Cafe in Hollywood, Florida. Let's go, Jordan.
That's right. I appreciate you, Grant. I
Anytime,
appreciate
brother.
you taking the time, letting me talk my story, and just get to see you before you get down here, and
That's
you get to
right.
see it up
We'll be
close,
there.
live
We'll
in
be there
person.
live. We'll be looking for the post fight interview after we get that dub.
You'll be the first one, my friend. I
Yes, sir.
appreciate it. Lehigh Valley all day.
Lehigh Valley. Let's go.
That's right. And recording.